All right, guys, how you doing? I've got a new face here. He was kind enough to invite me on his podcast, Finn's Faithful podcast. His name's George. You've probably seen him around. He's a great guy. I want to just really kind of let you get to introduce him to you so you can see all the stuff value that he brings. He's a real stand-up guy, which it means the world to me, and I'm really grateful to have met him. And so we're going to dig into the Dolphins, let you see all that he knows. He's a draft guy, much better than me in the drafts, so you can get some good stuff. So next season, if you want to go get some draft coverage, definitely check him out. I know I will. So let's kick it off. George, how you doing, man? What's this whole thing, man? Tell me about your gig, what you got going. Give me the lowdown so that everyone can hear it.
First of all, thank you for the kind words, Curtis. Likewise, I enjoyed our time on the show. I followed your work. You do great stuff. So I appreciate the checks in the mail, brother. The Finn's Faithful podcast, Curtis, I started last September. In March, earlier that year in March, during that draft season, the 24 draft, I just said, look, it's time. I've been a fan of this team for 30 years. I've been a passionate draft fan for since I was 10, evaluating players like 13 years old. I said, let me just go for it. Let me just jump off the bridge here. Why not? Everybody else is doing it. So I started with a laptop and a mic, did some Apple and Spotify podcast audio only. People listened. Got some feedback from some guys who were already in the business, and I said, shoot, let's do it. So last September, we started the Finn's Faithful podcast. It's growing. It's growing pretty quickly. It's been a year. We started from zero, and I can't tell you that what makes it all worth it to me is the kind words I get on a DM or something about somebody who. I mean, that makes it all. I always say, whether it's one view or 1,000, time is the ultimate currency, and for you to come on and listen to my show, and you could be doing anything else. So and we had a great draft season. Everybody talks about the big board was a pretty good success. We went through over 120 prospect scouting reports. And I told you last time kind of how the big board process worked for me, right? And
I thought it was very, very interesting, man. Definitely puts a lot of
I don't know if you want to get into that now, but
explain to us how you go about
So when we're doing, I'm part of the Finn's Faithful podcast. We had to branch off the on season. I had Jason Sarnia as my co-host. You guys know Jason. He's a regular co-host on my show. We did positional rankings for about all the positions. We did over about 120 scouting reports, and those are horizontal boards by position. Then when you get to the final board, I have a whiteboard. I have all different color pens.
Pro style.
Yeah, it comes horizontal. Then it becomes horizontal, and it's much different. So how I do it, it's not a mock draft. I'm not looking to get, okay, this guy was picked by the Packers at 20 and I had him there. That's not what my goal is. Like I told you on my show, when you're doing the horizontal board, I sit there and the top 5 is usually pretty easy. But as you get down, I sit and look, and of all the evaluations, I say, where do I feel comfortable? If I was in that seat, in that war room, how would I be drafting that player? Where would I rank him? And I do that. And I just go through it. I change it in my mind 20 times. For example, I'll give you an example. We had Kenneth Grant. I had Kenneth Grant at number 14 on the board. He went 13. I had Jonah Savianaya, 39. He went 37. So it's not about he went to the Dolphins. It's, my eyes are telling me where the league is telling me where some of these players should be ranked, where they were picked.
That's right.
And you're going to be wrong sometimes, because even the guys who get paid millions of dollars, if they hit 50% of the time, they're pretty good at this. So, and another thing, there's a couple of guys I had on the board that not a lot of people had. Isaac Tesla, the receiver, went 70 to the Lions. I had him somewhere, I don't remember, in the 80s or 90s. Ransaw, the safety, went to the Jaguars at 88. I had him somewhere around there, and a lot of people didn't have them in the top 100. If they did, it was at the very end, but not a lot of people. So those are the things that I kind of take pride in, because it's not patting my back. It's I put a lot of work in it. And when I start to see that my board and my thought process is kind of matching what the league thinks, now it's up to these players to succeed. And, you want to be right, but you're not going to be right all the time. So that's kind of made me happy. And I've done these draft boards for a few years now. That's what gave me confidence. Because it's not the first time it's happened.
It's not easy, man. You go out there and you put that stuff out, and everybody's breaking it down. But you missed this,
and you got to have the conviction and confidence in your process. And man, it's a lot of fun. I love it. And we're looking to continue to grow the channel, Curtis, and got some stuff lined up for the regular season. So yeah, man. Thank you for the kind words, man. It's been a blast so far.
Well, that's the thing for me. I get fixated on players. The drafting, I did it a few years ago, but then teams, they pick different guys, and like,
Yeah.
what are you picking that guy for? So I was like, this is really a frustrating thing. But your concept of viewing it as a GM, and you just kind of power hierarchying the players, and that makes such more sense, and it seems more feasible for accuracy and more fun. So I wish I had talked to you before this season started.
And it gives you an idea. It gives you an idea. Is that your eye telling you something? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and it's a ton of work that you're putting in. It's a ton of work to do that. I mean, you got to vet every single player, and then you got to break it down. So that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a feel. Like, it's because I've been following it for so long and doing it. I just always had a good eye. Like, I'm a big believer in, like, I remember the movie Moneyball when they talked about jaw lines on players. Yeah, like, I'm a big see a guy, feel a guy, get a like that. I'm a big on that. I'm old school when it comes to that. Analytics is fun. The route score is fun, but I'm a big believer in that. And I've always thought I had a pretty good eye for a while, and I started doing this stuff and it kind of matched. So I was like, all right, maybe I know what I'm doing, right? But again, it's not to pat myself on the back. It's to bring the best content. And if I wasn't doing it well, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? I so that's how I feel about it. But yeah, that's kind of how the way I go about it. Yeah.
Well, that's the way I do it too. I really, I do a lot of analytics because analytics can distill down tons and tons of.
I believe in it. I think it's a tool.
Oh yeah. But I go back to the eye test. It always starts with film for me, watching certain skill sets and prototypes and physical abilities that set the table for everything else. And so I think that's the major problem is that I think some people kind of get too wrapped up in the athletic scores and the combine and stuff. And that's a piece, but it always got to come back to what does your eye see? How does it match up to the tons of film you've seen? So I'm totally on board.
Your eye, when I watch, my eyes tell me immediately like what I like. It's in, I don't know if it's just me. It could be I'm just saying that's for me what it tells me. I get a sense pretty quickly what I like and don't like. And I just get a feel. I always call it our job when you're evaluating them is they get in the elevator from college to pros. They step out of the elevator. How do you project them when they're blind up against these kind of athletes? What you see, how do you see them? Have you seen that before? Do you see this play? I've seen that before. I know what that looks like. So yeah.
Well, that's because you've compounded years and years and years of thousands.
What it is.
Of hours.
It's what it is. It doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. It means I dedicated my time to it for a lot of years.
Hey, if you get good at something, you're good at it. There's nothing wrong with, as long as you're not crushing somebody else, you should tap yourself when you do well. And, you can say, oh, I screwed up when I did something wrong. That's
everybody,
natural.
you're going to be wrong.
All right. So I got two questions for you. One on Savia Naya. I want you to, I haven't watched enough film of him.
Yep.
But I've seen some. But I want to first I'm going to ask that next. But the first stage would be, how's your eval on this draft, the Dolphins draft?
First two picks, loved it. I loved it more, the players, but the tone, the feel of the draft.
Yeah,
I thought they didn't want big. They wanted real big. They wanted girth. Yeah. Right. So there's other guys you could have drafted, but they had a clear plan to kind of they want to change culture. We could talk about the culture change stuff, but you got to change it on the field first.
Oh, of course.
And you got to remove that soft label because they've had that label. Quite frankly, they have been soft. Kenneth Grant and Savanaya were two guys early on in the process I identified. I probably said on numerous shows, we did mock drafts, man, what if they got Kenneth Grant and Jonah Savanaya? Because I knew if they wanted to do that physical brand of football, those two guys in particular were keys. Kenneth Grant, when I watched Michigan, everybody talked about Mason Graham. My eyes went to Kenneth Grant. He probably 60 or 70% of the time took on the double teams. He's big and heavy, but his motor is surprising for a guy that size. And I think
never came off the field.
Yep. And I think there's more juice there. I think there's some pass. I'm not going to say he's a double-digit sack guy, but I think the athleticism and the motor for a guy that size is doesn't come around too often. Guys that size and move are not on this planet too often, right? So, and I think he's athletic enough that he can even play some 3 tech. I don't think he's clearly a 0 tech. So, You know, and
No.
I liked him better than Mason Graham for the Dolphins. And when I had Benjamin Albright on my show, he told me, he goes, funny you say that because at the combine, a lot of scouts said they liked Grant more than Graham for the Dolphins. So, yeah, love the Kenneth Grant pick. Like I said, I had him right there at 14. He went 13. Savi and I was the other guy. I have no problem with the trade up because the thing about him is when I watched him, these Samoans, these Polynesians are thick-limbed, man.
Great genetics.
I love them. I've seen them in person. They're built different. And he was a guy, I think he was the last guy there that fit the theme. Like there's Tate Rutledges of the world, but they're not built like this guy, right? He is probably some of the strongest hands, if not the strongest in the draft for an offensive lineman. His punch is outstanding. And he's plenty athletic. Everybody was talking about, does he fit the scheme? And then he ran the 4.95. I go, no, he's a big time athlete. I saw that. And you talk about now, he's playing at right tackle. I thought he was a plus athlete. You move him inside, Curtis. You're talking about a plus athlete. And what he does really well, and it's surprising, is he anchors in pass pro outstanding. I want him to get him to the next level and to a Pro Bowl level. I want to see him even be more aggressive in the run game. But he can anchor, he has power, he's athletic, his hand strength is phenomenal. In the pass pro, he's phenomenal. I think it's going to be even good inside. And you didn't have to project. He's played right tackle, he's played right guard. It wasn't like an Andre Urzare from Minnesota who went actually probably around where the Dolphins' original pick was. You would have to project him inside. This guy, you don't project. You know he's a day one starter. So love the theme. I thought the draft was the first two picks. And more than the players, but a draft I think they should have done a while ago. This is a year one rebuild type draft. So love that. And as far as the other guys, I love Trader. Dante Trader was a guy who tested like an undrafted free agent, but his film was a second-round pick. A lacrosse background, doesn't have the long speed, but short area quickness. Guy doesn't miss tackles. He's not a thumper, right? Like I've said before, he's a shortstop who makes the routine plays at an elite level and wins.
We need that.
He wins a Gold Glove playing shortstop because he makes every play he should, and that's kind of how Trader is. He's intelligent. He calls the defense, and that's a theme with this draft. A lot of leaders and high football IQ guys, and I don't think that was coincidence. And Phillips is another tackle. I'll go quickly through the rest of the guys. Phillips is another tackle, defensive tackle, who I think down the road when he has unbelievable strength for a 20-year-old player.
Oh yeah.
Down the road when he's 25, 26, I think this is a guy who's going to be just a physical anchor at nose tackle, a starting zero tech athletic nose tackle. I think that's his ceiling. He's not going to give you much in the pass rush because I think his length limits his ceiling a little bit, but man, he could be a stalwart nose tackle in the future. Jason Marshall Jr., the cornerback, all the physical tools, ton of experience, lined up versus top SEC receivers, but he's inconsistent, and there's some effort issues. There's some tackling issues. If he brings it, he has the athleticism to play in this league, and the door's wide open, and we'll talk about the cornerback position. But it's up to him, I think, how good he wants to be. And Ollie Gordon and Ewers, Ewers was a throw at the dart. He fits. He went to the right place for him. He does a lot of touch stuff. He has a good release. He's a good ball faker, like kind of Tua is, handling the ball, but inconsistent decision making, lack of fastball. Those things are going to hurt him. His ceiling's a backup quarterback, and if he's going to succeed, it's here. And the last guy I'll talk about is Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon in 23 and versus the 24 film. 23, he was a decisive runner, broke tackles, good vision, won the Doak Walker. And if you told me Ollie Gordon was going to be a 6th-round pick the next year, I'd tell you you're crazy. But he had a down year. I didn't see the same stuff on film. The O-line and quarterback was not good for them. But I went to check and see if they ran a lot of 8 or 9-man boxes against him, and it wasn't crazy. So here's the thing with Ollie Gordon. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. He's not the Doak Walker guy. He's not as bad as the 24 guy. And we'll see. He looked quick in camp. That's a good sign. But Yeah, overall, I like the draft, especially the first 2 picks. Sorry if I rambled on there, but
No, it's great stuff. I'm learning, man. I love it. I love it. I love it, man. Keep going. There's some really good evaluations, things I didn't consider. So no, that's what you're here for. People hear about from me all the time. We're here to hear about from
that's what people, when people listen to my show, they say, look, what transmits from you is you're passionate about what you're speaking about, and you got to transmit somehow. So yeah, I think it's a really good draft. I think it's a draft where, unlike other years when we're like waiting for guys, you know, early on, this guy's not going to be able to play early. First 2 picks, I think, are starters on the trenches, and that's music to our ears.
Well, that's I'll get into it just quickly.
Yeah.
Not about the back end, just about Grant and Savayanaya.
Yeah.
Grant is just, originally, when I looked at his prototype, I'm like, 0-1. And then when I saw it like the 22 bench, I'm like, what? Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You know, like I was like 180 something, and I did 16.
Yeah.
But then when you see his quickness, his agility, and you realize that that's not what he's about. And then when you pair him with Phillips, the draft, you can clearly see that this guy is more than that. Now, the only question I have is when you see him in without the pads on, man, he's got to work on that body. He's got the hanging, but you know, that's the easiest thing to work on. You go into a professional NFL program, you're 22 years old, you know, your body is going to develop, and that the rest of the stuff is not something you could just add, but the strength you can. And if this guy adds that strength along with these other assets, always being on the field, the agility, then this kid's has a potential to be a superstar. So I totally was fine with the pick. I like the pick. I understand Jediah Barron and maybe getting somebody later. But when we picked Grant, it kind of set a domino effect where these D tackles went early, and then you had the Bills reaching for 2 rounds to kind of find replacements. Yeah. You know, maybe not. Maybe they're the right guys. You got to wait to see. I mean, whatever. But so I was totally fine with that. We needed it. No Wilkins. No Campbell. Sealer's getting older. You got to take a shot. When you get a guy like that at that position, you don't know how many more you're going to get.
And when you talk about the bad body look, there's people at Michigan say he's the best worker and most athletic guy for a body like that. So I'm not as concerned. But yeah, if you just met him in person, you'd say that body needs some work, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, but again, it's
crazy to see a guy that quick move like that. That big move like that.
You can't add that. You can add, you know, hey, I'm going to put on muscle, you know, I'm going to drop some fat and add muscle. So to me, the ceiling's high. I was totally happy with the pick. Totally happy.
They needed this kind of player for a while. This kind of tone setter up the middle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, big time. And then with Jonah, my question is, I haven't watched enough film because I have watched some, but some of the scouting reports were saying that he struggled against the bull rush as a pass protector, and he lacked the ability to move guys in the run game. And when you go from tackle to guard, the guys get shorter, and so the leverage advantage kind of tilts towards them. They get stronger and heavier. And so I don't know, but
it's more like in a phone booth. You're more in a phone booth. Yeah.
Oh, so I want to get you, because I personally think you look at his true pass set grade, it was like 88 out of 100. This guy could pass block.
Yeah, he's a good pass. Yeah, I know what you're. There's sometimes everybody speed to power for a defensive player is like what they rely on, right? And yeah, there's sometimes some technique stuff he gets caught on, but overall his pass rush set and moving this up, I have no worry, because with the better coaching and his hand strength, I've seen plenty of stuff on film the way he sets anchor. I think he's going to be fine. Like I really do. But you know, none of these guys are perfect, right?
No, and he's only 22 too. Again, these guys are so young.
Yeah,
I think Wilkins was 24 when we drafted him.
Yeah. And I will say in the run game, there is some times where I want him to be more aggressive. I will agree with that. I'm actually more confident.
I don't know. I got reports, but you got the eyes.
Yeah. There is sometimes I think for him to take that next step, he unleashes the aggression with that hand power and hand strength and grip strength, and he can eventually be a Pro Bowl type player. That's a ceiling.
Certainly.
That's a ceiling. If he's another Robert Hunt, it's a home run.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, the ability to be physical, the ability to have strong hands. You look at this; he's got cankles. Those calves go straight down. You know,
his limbs are. I love Polynesian players. The Samoa. I especially in the line of scrimmage. I'm a big fan of those guys.
Oh yeah.
They're just built different, you know.
Yeah, so I was happy about the pick. I don't know about the trade up. We'll see how it plays out. But the bottom line is if you come out of this draft with a solid plus player in Phillips, a very good player in Grant, and a very good player or a pretty good player in Jonah, then this was a darn good draft. How many drafts have come and gone where we can't even have that?
If you got two starters, fundamental starters that can play at a pretty high level on the line of scrimmage on both sides, the trade up, well, you got a third pick for next year. And I'll be honest, I think their next pick would have been 98. I didn't love everything that was on the board. There wasn't like somebody I said, man, I wish we had this pick. Like I could live without it. Maybe Billy Bowman Jr., the safety out of Oklahoma, I was high on, but I'm okay with it. They got a third next year, and next year's a big quarterback draft, right? Yeah. So to have the extra ammo, not saying, look, Tua, regardless, he's a really good quarterback. We're not getting the whole Tua debate. We'll be here for an hour, but like you got to. His injury history, you always got to be looking at that position.
Yeah, it's crazy not to.
So, yeah.
Now, the only guy, now I got a question, one last question, because I'm learning a lot from what you're saying. So I like Rattlage a lot, but I think Rattlage is going to be groomed as a guard, but he's probably going to move to center. I think maybe he'll be better as a center. We got Brewer. So what do you think about Rattlage? I think that guy can be pretty good, but I think he doesn't have the physical prototype of Jonah, but I think the guy's very intriguing.
No, Rattlage was a true right guard. Like that's the only he would have been day one. He was an older prospect. He's 24. To me, Rattlage had he's got a floor to him. Ceiling was not that high. He just the feet concerned me sometimes.
Stuff
like the side to side, like dealing with when I watch. I'm trying to go back when I watch Rattlage. The stunt stuff, the twist that he struggled with. He didn't have great length. I think Jonah has good length.
Yeah.
He leaned forward a lot. He would tend to kind of you never want to
head over toes too much.
You head over toes too much. I liked Rattlage. I think he's going to be a solid right guard, but
much better.
You got a guy who's Savanea, who's going to give you versatility. Also can play right tackle on a pinch. Is 3 years younger. I think has more upside.
3 years younger. I didn't know Rattlage was 25. That's a big
24. Plus. I think Savanea is
21.
21, yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Both really good athletes. The thing with Rattlage is that, and he's not. Look, he's 3.0. He's about 3.05. I think 3.08. They wanted girth. They didn't just want big. And Anthony Weaver said that, and I just think.
That's why I think he's better.
If he would have stayed, here's the thing, Curtis. If they would have stayed and not traded up, and they took Rattlage at what was it, 40? Well, I don't remember what their pick
48
was.
Maybe
48. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I had Rattlage around 60 on my board. So he went. Where did he go?
Detroit.
I don't know what pick that was.
But he went to Detroit.
So that's probably almost around where I had him. Because Detroit, he's the second pick, and he was the 25th pick in the second round. So he probably went somewhere in the late 50s. So it's about where I had him.
Yeah.
And
but that's
my example of the draft board. Like, there it is. That's what I'm saying. Those kind of things. But yeah, he's older, not as big. I liked him. I didn't love him. I know some people were high on him, but there was a couple things and I thought you go with the younger prospect. They wanted physicality.
Yeah.
They wanted.
Amen.
I used the word girth. I know it's a weird word to use, but it's
great
what
word.
They wanted. Yeah. He's lighter too.
Word. Yeah. And that's the thing too with their Lions. They got him at guard, but their starting center retired, and they're cross training him. So
I think
at that size, I think he's going to be playing center.
He could play center, but remember, you're also not getting there's no tackle versatility there. You're only getting guard or center, and really, he's only played right guard in his career.
Well, speaking of tackle versatility, Jackson's dealing with a second injury, and he's no good. So we really need that big time.
Yeah. I do. Look, I know you're not high on Austin Jackson. I think Austin Jackson is an average to slightly above average starting right tackle. I mean, he did take a hit last year when he was injured. The line take a hit, but I think you're fine there. I think the big question and the X factor in this offensive line is Patrick Paul, Curtis. I think he's the and
I love that guy though.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I have to hold my hands up. You talk about misses. Well, it's not. We don't know yet, but as far as Paul, I didn't like the pick coming out, and I mentioned this yesterday on my show. By the way, we had Ryder McConville, who's great, man. Check that out. not just to promote. I mean, it was a great conversation.
Definitely check it out, guys. That's great.
So the thing with Paul is when he came out, his hand placement and technique was horrible, right? And he played like that, and he got away with it in college. He gets to the pros, and what I underestimated is for a guy who's 6'7" and has probably some of the longest wingspan and reach in the NFL, put up 31 reps. That's hard that's for a guy with those kind of arms. So, and he had some mistakes. His first game wasn't great. It was up and down. Myles Garrett got the best of him. But I saw some of the hand placement stuff, and he recovered like in college. And maybe he's just a rare guy who's that long, that kind of strength, and can hold the anchor. Now, if he wants to take it to the next level, he can't be open so much and let these defenders get in his chest early. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know what that means, is when you let the edge rusher get in your chest quick, you let them have control and you lose anchor.
Leverage.
Anyway, with his kind of leverage, with his kind of length, you should never let that happen. So I think he'll be good enough this season. We'll see some ups and downs, but I'm confident this O-line's better because I think Paul, his traits are good enough to get by, and he's a hardworking kid, and he looks a little slimmer.
Smart too, smart. Very.
I don't bet against those kind of kids.
All right, so we'll go into the last part here. We were going to get in defense, but I don't want to go on too long.
Yeah. Sorry, I rambled.
No, dude, this is great stuff. I'm learning. I'm listening to you. That's what you're here for. That's what it's about. I mean, my view is here, maybe, So I want to learn too. So this is me. This is an opportunity to pick somebody's brain. So I firmly believe this offensive line is going to be the foundation of the success of a failure this year. There's a lot goes into. We've kind of talked about some of it, but that could play into McDaniel. To me, some people want to say this is McDaniel's last year, maybe Greer's. I don't know. I don't know what kind of leash they have. I don't know what's going on in the background. So what do you see this season? How it possibly can play out, some traps, and ultimately, how's it going to play back into McDaniel? Do you think McDaniel survives?
That's a great question. The Greer thing, I'm done saying Greer's gone because it never happens.
I think he's forever, man.
Yeah, he should be in the Ring of Honor or statue outside. He's not going anywhere. Here's the thing about McDaniel. The culture change thing and all that. I don't think they've helped him very much this offseason. And I'll tell you, Bradley Chubb's comments on the last minicamp talking about, hey, it's up to us. When he jokes, we got to take it more seriously. When he's saying something.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So it's almost saying like, I have this theory about Mike is he's like the substitute teacher. Like, it's great. It's fun because you don't got to work as hard.
Yeah.
But can that substitute teacher gain the respect of that classroom? Probably not until the real teacher comes back. And that real teacher might be Anthony Weaver, because you have him.
I think so too. I think
so.
So
I think they've done him no favors this offseason. They haven't been aggressive. Call it a soft reset, rebuild, call whatever you want. They didn't go aggressive in the corner market. They didn't make trades. You know what I mean? They didn't stockpile picks this year.
Yeah.
They traded up, had a low number of picks. So I think, look, I never count McDaniel out because I don't know what's going on in that building. But I've always said this about Mike also is I think he came in here as the head coach of Tua Tagovailoa, not the Miami Dolphins in the beginning. And he became this ultimate player empowerment coach. Okay, Tua figured it out. Obviously, the injuries aside, it's not his fault. But now you had a disappointing year. You won 8 games. Can you cross the other side of the locker room and can you command it? Because you're no longer here to rebuild Tua's confidence. The head coaching position is more than that. If not, you should have just been the quarterback coach. And that's what we're seeing now. Forget about all, we could talk about the challenges, the in-game decisions, whatever. I think if anybody gets the fault here, it's going to be McDaniel. If they would have to probably get off to a pretty bad start. And they got that 3-game schedule when it's Washington, Baltimore, and Buffalo, and they come back from Madrid. I think if they're really bad there, I think there's more of a possibility that they do make a move like that. Those are the times you do. But it would really, Curtis, it'd really have to go. Have to go south. And I just don't know if you could be the ultimate experience of a player empowerment coach and make a 180 turn and become more of a disciplinarian. I think they're trying like heck for the culture, but culture and leadership is determined when there's adversity, and we'll find out during the regular season. Hopefully there's not a lot of adversity because I know, like myself, I'd love to be wrong and this team hold up a Lombardi who are going deep in the playoffs. It's good for the show, and it's also good for my health, So I think it'd have to go south, but they gotta coach. It doesn't help him that they didn't improve the roster a ton, and they got a head coaching candidate. By the way, if he has another successful season on defense,
Oh,
he
100%.
might be a guy where you have to get him now, because if he gets in the open market,
and that might force them to get rid of McDaniel.
Could. Yeah, I think, again, your guess is as good as mine what they think of that building, because I have no idea.
No. Well, that's the thing is I kind of think of coaching is like being a father. You can't bring the stick all the time. You can't bring the carrot all the time. You have to have both and know when to use it. If anything, you're better off leaning into the stick, but still having some carrot than leaning into the carrot and not using the stick. But you can't be Mr. Carrot, because ultimately you've got to create discipline. It's a pseudo-militaristic operation you've got here. You've got to have men that have a little bit of fear, a little bit of respect. And respect doesn't come from being nice guy, chummy. It has to be where, you have that authority and that head coach and OC. It's one thing if the OC's like that, and then you got the head coach who's the tough guy, or if you have a head coach who's the, Mr. Laughs, and then the OC and DC are tough guys. But when you've got, basically two of the three bigs, the same guy who's Mr. Carrots, it makes it very, very tough. And when he first got hired, I said, look, this could be great if we're winning, we're killing it. That kind of guy, he makes everybody feel better when you're killing it. But adversity always brings out the truth. And I just didn't think it would work well under fire. You call Flores, say whatever you want, but he was Mr. Stick or whatever. But this team had a ton of resolve under adversity with a much weakened roster than what it is now. But ultimately, his inability to have the carrots undid him, among other things. But yeah, I'm kind of in that. I don't know if he'll get fired by the end of the season. It's that opening 6 games, because
they got to go 5-3 the first 8, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to how will the Patriots play? You don't want to lose week 2. And then I said the worst case scenario for us was that Richardson sits and Jones starts, and it looks like he's going to start for that week 1 game against the Colts. And then you got the Chargers week 6. You got the Bills in there. But, from where we're at in a build, where the coach is there 4 years and what we got, we should win a lot of those games. But if we don't, it gets very dicey at the end. Yeah. And it could get very ugly.
Stretch in the middle is Buffalo, Baltimore, Washington. And again, I always say I'm not a big fan of going to the – I mean, we all do it. Oh, win, loss.
Yeah.
Because there's too many variables that are going to change. Injuries,
100%.
Who Josh Allen gets hurt, okay, that Bills game changes, so everything can change. You can go into the season thinking this game was an easy game, but whoa, man, the Patriots look good this year, right? Mike Vrabel, or, this Ravens, they have an injury at the quarterback position. So variables could change, but, I guess we can close it on here. I think as a head coach in anything, in a business, you have to be a little bit feared and also to be liked. Those two things, when you can do both of those, it's very difficult. And the great coaches have to be a little bit of fear and be liked. I think McDaniel has one of the two, and I think we know which one it is. He's really well liked, right. So that's the key, and that's the key to leading. That's in any business I was in or anything I've done. That's it. You got to be able to. You walk in the office, in the door, crap, he's here. But you know what? I really like the guy, and and that's the key. I think that's the key to anything, and especially coaching.
100%. Well, George, I'm very grateful you come on. I did learn a lot, and I definitely we're going to work together again and do some stuff. But I really enjoy the conversation. I really learned a lot. No, I'm no joke at all. So I'm sure my viewers are going to love you. So just tell us all the. You already do this better than me. All
you said that last time. You're like, you only done it.
I suck at it, man. I suck at promotion and all that stuff.
You said you're like, oh, you only done it for a year. I was like,
you got it down, baby. So give us the whole load, how we get in touch with you, because you're doing a great job and I want to see you grow, because that's what it's about. Building this, this community up with great guys that bring great content and making sure that they stick around. We need them. Give us the load out.
I'm going to be objective. I'm going to call it like I see it. That's how I do it. There's no angles for me. There's none of that. I call it like I see it. If he's good, he's good. If he's bad, he's bad. and that's kind of how I work. But
Balls
yeah,
and strikes.
you can follow us on social media. It's at Finn's Faithful Pod, Finn's Faithful POD. On YouTube, it's just type in Finn's Faithful Podcast. Give us
Awesome.
a subscribe. Check it out.
Definitely.
If you don't like it, unsubscribe. But give us a look. See, I've had Kim Bocamper on. I've had Armando Salguero. We've had Richard
But
Webb.
Kim Bocamp, I've been doing this for 4 years. I don't have anybody like that, man.
We had we go live through the I'm still working on, but through to training camp. We'll probably go live on Mondays. I also might go live on Thursdays, but I got a lot of stuff going on during the season we're going to work on. So introduce kind of a new lineup and get a lot of things going. So yeah, come check us out and give it a look. See if you like it. And again, Curtis, thank you so much, man. The sentiment is returned because good guys are hard to find. So guys you can trust are hard to find. So in any walk of life.
So true. But yes, so George, I'm grateful. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I know you will. Definitely do all you can to support him. We need the support of the good, the accurate. And so listen, George, we'll definitely have you on again.
Yep.
Thank you for everything. And Curtis and George saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis and George.
Fins up.
Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.